winter's night, but my heart still aches for those who fight for freedom's flame in the darkest light. True freedom fighters, the Mavericks we praise, blazing their trails through shadowy days. They stand unbroken, their courage shines for every soul, for all mankind. All I want for Christmas is freedom, for every maverick to lead the way. Goodwill toward men, let the light begin, and a brighter dawn for a brand new day. Break the chains of tyranny, let the world hear our rights are from a higher place, so clear. All I want this Christmas, my cheer, is freedom for all far and near. The battle's not over, the war still calls against those who build oppression's walls. But the maverick spirit will never fade, a beacon of hope through history's blade. So we pray for strength and we stand as one, for the rights of the many and the dreams yet spun. The gift of freedom, it knows no price, born of courage, sacrifice. All I want for Christmas is freedom, for every maverick to lead the way. Goodwill toward men, let the light begin, and a brighter dawn for a brand new day. Break the chains of tyranny, let the world hear our rights are from a higher place, so clear. All I want this Christmas, my cheer, is freedom for all far and near. Let's honor the brave, the fearless, the true, the mavericks who dare to break through. Their fights are right, their cause divine. Freedom for all, for your heart and mind. All I want for Christmas is freedom, for every maverick to light the way. Goodwill toward men, let the peace begin, and a brighter world for us to stay. Stand against dictators, let justice ring, our rights from above, the anthem we sing. All I want for Christmas this year is freedom for all far and near. Ooh. This Christmas we remember the Maverick so bold, who carried the torch in the freezing cold. Freedom's the gift, the fight never done. This Christmas we pray it's for everyone.
Greetings, Mavericks and new viewers. Tonight, direct and live from the Maverick News Network World Studios. This is Maverick News with Rick Walker.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to 2025. Not a great way to start the new year. New Orleans truck attack. Death toll now up to 15. We have the details for you. We have a report coming out of Montreal. We have Joseph Lenard joining us later in the program, author of Terror Strikes. He'll be along later in the program. And when we come back after this short break, will go to the White House for an address on this very subject from President Joe Biden. Stay with me.
You know, someone very profoundly once said many years ago that if fascism ever comes to America, it'll come in the name of liberalism.
Well, I think it's time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the Founding Fathers. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth.
The entire world is watching.
Every dictator, every crazy dictator in the world is watching.
The world is watching. On TV, the entire world is watching. On social media.
But the entire world is watching, and yes, they are seeing what we have apparently bravely been willing to say that others are thinking.
Stand for freedom. Literally stand for freedom. Let's get this done. The entire world is watching.
We're at war with the most dangerous enemy that has ever faced mankind in his long climb from the swamp to the stars.
Maverick News. Maverick News. Maverick News.
Let me have more control of my own destiny.
The world is watching.
Okay, let's get straight to the most recent information, the latest stuff. News conference, White House, Joe Biden.
Good evening. I know I can speak for all Americans when I say our hearts are with the people of New Orleans after the despicable attack that occurred in the early morning hours. To all the families of those who are killed, to all those who are injured, to all the people of New Orleans who are grieving today, I want you to know I grieve with you. Our nation grieves with you. We're going to stand with you as you mourn and as you heal in the weeks to come. I want to thank our brave first responders and law enforcement personnel who stopped the attacker in his tracks before he could kill or injure even more people. And I want to thank you to everyone at the Department of Homeland Security, the Department of Justice, including the FBI, for working nonstop to investigate this heinous act. The FBI is leading the investigation to determine what happened, why it happened, and whether there was any continuing threat to public safety. Here's what we know so far. The FBI has reported to me the killer was an American citizen, born in Texas. He served in the United States Army on active duty for many years. He also served in the Army Reserve until a few years ago. The FBI also reported to me that mere hours before the attack, he posted videos on social media indicating that he was inspired by ISIS, expressing a desire to kill. The ISIS flag was found in his vehicle, which he rented to conduct this attack. Possible explosives were found in the vehicle as well, and more explosives were found nearby. The situation is very fluid, and the investigation has a preliminary stage. And the fact is that right now, there you go. The law enforcement and intelligence community are continuing to look for any connections, associations, or co-conspirators. We have nothing additional to report at this time. The investigation is continuing to be active, and no one should jump to conclusions. I've directed my Attorney General, the FBI Director, the Secretary of Homeland Security, the head of the National Counterterrorism Center, and the intelligence community to work on this intensively until we have a full and complete information. And once we have that information, I will share that information as soon as we can confirm it. Additionally, we're tracking the explosion of a cyber truck outside the Trump Hotel in Las Vegas. Law enforcement and the intelligence community are investigating this as well, including whether there's any possible connection with the attack in New Orleans. Thus far, there's nothing to report on that score at this time. I directed my team to make sure every resource is made available to federal, state, and local law enforcement to complete the investigation in New Orleans quickly and to make sure there's no remaining threat to the American people. And we'll support the people of New Orleans as they begin the hard work of healing. New Orleans is a place unlike any other place in the world. It's a city full of charm and joy. So many people around the world love New Orleans because of its history, its culture, and above all, its people. So I know, while this person committed a terrible assault on the city, the spirit of our New Orleans will never, never, never be defeated. It always will shine forth. We've seen that time and time again throughout its history, and I know we'll see it again in the days and weeks ahead. May God bless the people of New Orleans. May God bless our police and our first responders. May God protect our troops, and we'll keep you fully, contemporaneously informed. Thank you.
Have you spoken to President Trump? Will you visit New Orleans? Have you spoken to President Trump? Investigated as a terror attack?
So, again, a U.S. Army veteran driving a pickup truck with the Islamic State flag on it, plowed through revelers' New Year's Eve celebration in New Orleans, killing 15 people. He steered around a police blockade, slammed into these revelers, and police then shot him, and he was pronounced dead at the scene. The FBI says it is investigating the attack as a terrorist act. They do not believe the driver acted alone. Investigators found guns. In addition, they also found what they believe to be an improvised explosive device in the vehicle, along with other devices elsewhere in the famed French Quarter of New Orleans. The rampage transformed Bourbon Street into a place of chaos and fear, with bodies on the street and people fleeing for safety. Now, the college football playoff game, the Sugar Bowl, has been postponed until Thursday, and the driver of the truck has been identified as Shamsuddin Jabbar, 42 years of age. As the president just indicated, he was a U.S. citizen born in Texas. And the FBI has indicated they do not believe the driver was acting alone. We do have, as well, this news conference with the FBI. Bring this up for you. And this is also very recent. Get you a few clips out of this to get you the most up-to-date information possible.
He was driving a Ford pickup truck, which appears to be rented, and we are working to confirm how the subject came in possession of this vehicle. An ISIS flag was located on the trailer hitch of the vehicle, and the FBI is working to determine the subject's potential associations and affiliations with terrorist organizations. Weapons and potential improvised explosive devices, IEDs, were located in the subject's vehicle. Other potential IEDs were also located in the French Quarter. As of now, 2 IEDs have been found and rendered safe. The FBI Special Agent Bomb Technicians, as well as our local law enforcement partners, have been working to determine if any of these devices are viable, and they'll work to render those devices safe. The FBI, we are working with our partners to investigate this as an act of terrorism. We're aggressively running down all of the leads to identify the possible subject's associates. We're working to ensure that there is no further threat. We do not believe that Jabbar was solely responsible. We are aggressively running down every lead, including those of his known associates. That's why we need the public's help. We are asking if anybody has any interactions with Samsud Dim Jabbar in the last 72 hours that you contact us. The FBI is asking the public's help. We're asking anyone who has information, video, or pictures to provide it to the FBI. We have set up a digital tip line as well as our 1-800 number, 1-800-CALL-FBI. Please provide us with any information that can assist us in this investigation. Once again, thank you for your patience and assistance. For an updated statements or information, please check the FBI's website and our social media accounts. I will now turn over to Mayor Cantrell. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Agent Duncan, for your leadership and the full support of the FBI. First and foremost, I want to express my deepest condolences to the families and loved ones that were impacted by this tragedy on Bourbon Street and in the heart of the city of New Orleans. And I know that the entire New Orleans City Council grieves along right with me, no doubt about that, and our people and our families. My priority will continue to be to ensure that victims that remain on Bourbon Street now will be serviced and removed as soon as possible. But as stated, the FBI is in charge of this investigation and are doing everything necessary to make this happen.
Nobody believed me at first, but now we're getting scammed into buying a Japanese handcrafted.
Hearing from President Biden, all of our federal partners, but most importantly, calling Governor Landry this morning, responded with haste. And we do say thank you. And of course, a demonstration of a unified support is right here in this room. That's how we collectively responded to this tragedy in the city of New Orleans. The mission now is to facilitate, support, and coordinate safety procedures to keep our residents and our visitors safe. I've gone to the hospital along with Chief Kirkpatrick to visit our police officers, and considering their injuries, they're doing well. As I mentioned, this investigation is ongoing, and the FBI remains the lead in the investigation. It is an active crime scene as well. We are committed, no doubt, to uncovering all details surrounding this tragedy. And we're taking every necessary step to put even more safety procedures in place, especially given the nature of the investigation. I'm going to ask people to do not go around our secured area if there is no essential need to do so. It matters, and again, it is an active crime scene. I also want you all to know that the Greater New Orleans Foundation has set up a fund to assist victims, and that information will be provided to you. Thank you, Ganoff. Again, I want to thank this unified team. We're leaning in, we will be relentless, and we will do everything that it takes to render real justice. This team will. I want to also just thank our citizens for your heartfelt prayers. New Orleans is a world-class city, and I can say that I've heard from world leaders all this morning and up until now, in addition to my brother and sister mayors across this country. They're calling, they're responding, and they're standing with the city of New Orleans. And what they always say and want me to reiterate, they understand the resilience of this community. And we're strong in that regard, and I will say second to none. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to our governor, and as I mentioned, who has not wavered any in leaning in, providing the necessary support, and standing right here with me, and I say thank you, Governor. And I know the First Lady is standing with us as well.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you. Again, I want to thank the Mayor. Since about 3:45 this morning, when she called me, we have all been working just around the clock to both secure the city and to solve this act. You know, again, I want to reiterate that our prayers go out with all of those who have been affected by this tragedy. I want to thank our law enforcement officers. I want to thank our medical personnel. I want to thank our first responders. And most importantly, I want to thank the two New Orleans police officers who not only laid their life on the line, but were able to eliminate the threat this morning. Let me say, we have made public safety a state priority from day one. And I think that if you look around me today, right now, and you look at the people who are standing around, that is their commitment as well. We intend to be transparent in assessing any defects that may have existed in the system so that we can address them. It's the only way to ensure that any mistakes that were made are corrected. Specifically, we have been trying and working very diligently to address security concerns in preparation for the Super Bowl since October. And it's interesting because, ironically, in preparation for the Super Bowl, I had intended to issue an emergency declaration tomorrow so that we could bring all of our federal, state, and local agencies to bear in preparation for the Super Bowl and Mardi Gras. But because of the events today, I have amended that emergency declaration and issued it today. So again, that declaration will allow our federal, state, and local partners to bring all of the resources necessary to get this city safe. In light of that executive order, I have also ordered the mobilization of a military police company. I've asked General Freelou to mobilize a military police company to assist both New Orleans Police and LSP and the FBI. It is important for our citizens and guests of this state to know that we are doing everything we can to secure their safety in this city. We want to make it clear, the Superdome and the surrounding area is safe. But I've always said that the safety of this entire city is something that is always paramount to me. With that, I would like to turn it over to Jeff with the Super Bowl Commission. Jeff Dunley.
For the ones searching for.
So as I say, the football game postponed till Thursday.
Good afternoon. Obviously, we wish we weren't here for this reason today. The Sugar Bowl Committee has a 90-year history of being a good corporate citizen for the city of New Orleans, and that's why this tragedy hurts us as much as anybody right now. So our condolences, thoughts, and prayers go out to the victims and their families as we all work through this. Of course, anytime we have a major event in the city of New Orleans, public safety is paramount, and we have full faith and confidence in the governor and the mayor and all the assets, the federal, state, and local resources that they've applied to this event so that we can ultimately bring those responsible to justice and carry on with the major events that we have in front of us. Speaking of which, we were scheduled this evening to have a CFP quarterfinal played in the Superdome at 7:45. We have been in consultation with ESPN, with the College Football Playoff, with the Southeastern Conference, with the University of Georgia, with Notre Dame, all parties, and all agree that it's in the best interest of everybody and public safety that we postpone the game for 24 hours. Work is fast about to set up a safe and efficient and fun environment for tomorrow night. There'll be more details on that in the coming hours, but for now, that's the plan, that we're going to move forward and play the game. And again, we reiterate our thanks to everyone up here for the important work they're doing. We live in the fun and games world with what we do, but we certainly recognize the importance of this, and we're going to support it 100%. So thank you.
I'd like to bring up Senator Kennedy.
I wish I understood better why bad things happen to good people. If I make it to heaven, I'm going to ask. For those people who don't believe in objective evil, all you have to do is look at what happened in our city early this morning. I am, if this doesn't trigger the gag reflex of every American, every fair-minded American, I'll be very surprised. I'm here because these are my people. I'm here because these are my people's friends. I'm here because there are a lot of Louisianians that are scared tonight. I don't want them to be. There's a lot of information going around. Some of it is actually true. Some of it isn't. The federal government is now in charge of this investigation. By that I mean the White House, the FBI, the Department of Homeland Security, and the Department of Justice. I have not talked to the FBI. Maybe they've talked to my staff. I don't know. I did talk to the Secretary of Homeland Security a little while ago. And I told him that with all the respect I could muster, that we expect to put the full force and resources of the federal government behind this investigation. Our state troopers, our local police departments, our sheriffs, we've got many sheriffs here today, have been terrific so far. The federal government is cooperating with them. I hope that will continue. Here's what I want to ask from the federal government. Catch these people. Catch these people. And then tell the American people the truth. Now, I don't want you to tell us yet anything that's going to interfere with your investigation. And there are things that I've been told that I think are true that I'm not sharing with you today because it could interfere with their investigation. But after we get to the bottom of this, they need to tell the American people the truth, and the people of New Orleans the truth, and the people of America the truth. I think the mayor and the governor are very wise to postpone this ball game for 24 hours. There's just too much stuff we don't know, and it's just not worth it. But I guess my final point is, I will promise you this. I will, when it is appropriate and this investigation is complete, you will find out what happened and who was responsible. Or I will raise fresh hell. And I will chase those in the federal government who are responsible for telling us what happened, like they stole Christmas.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you, Senator Kennedy. Congressman Carter, I think Troy.
Okay, we're going to pull out of that for a moment. We have, I have some more recent info here. This just pretty fresh. And this is drone footage outside the Houston home of the New Orleans attack suspect. In this footage you're about to see, there is a man with his hands raised as a SWAT team is surrounding the area and is issuing commands, verbal commands to this person. I'll show you what's going on. We have the footage here. So this is very fresh info, fresh video, drone footage outside the home of the driver of that truck who was killed at the scene by police. But this just moments ago. So what exactly this, who this person is, we don't know. But this is drone footage as the authorities, and there you see the SWAT team on site, and this as the authorities seek to track down the others that they believe were part of this attack, saying they don't believe the driver of the truck was acting alone. Hands stretched full up in the air. They're giving him instructions. And again, there's the wide shot with the SWAT team. This is outside the home of the driver of that Ford pickup truck that slammed into the people in New Orleans during the New Year's Eve celebrations early this morning. Death toll now up to 15. Now, viewer discretion advised. Some of these images you're about to see may disturb some people. This is footage of the truck speeding through the area at speed, reaching speeds, we're told, of as high as 70 miles per hour during this horrific attack. As people ran screaming. And it has been a scary time. It's just a terrible way to begin the new year. Why New Orleans? Why now? Why New Year's Eve? What was the true motive behind all of this? Very hard to say, really. We just don't have much information on the possible motive yet, although the driver of the truck apparently had been posting on social media prior to this with information about who he was and what his occupation was, former military. There's a picture of him right there. Shamsud Din Jabbar, 42 years old, a U.S. citizen, born in Texas. And the authorities have confirmed he did have an ISIS flag on his vehicle at the time. Now, it has been, and here's a picture of the flag that was on the vehicle. And we're told that this is not, there hasn't really been much, or there isn't what am I trying to say here? There's not a lot of footage, not a lot of, you're not going to see a lot of images of this flag. The authorities apparently have not, they've been, I guess, kind of keeping it concealed to some degree, if I can put it that way. And there's the flag on the ground. Some people getting pictures of it, and then the authorities, I guess, taking it, confiscating it as evidence. And that, of course, is leading some people to wonder why, but I think at this point it's really more about confiscation for purposes of collecting evidence than anything else. Of course, conspiracy theories are flying fast and furious as a result of this. We're going to go to Montreal in a moment for a report from Dragon that's sort of a sidebar to everything going on with regard to this. But before we do that, I want to preface all of that with this footage out of New York, where just a short time ago, a massive crowd of pro-Palestinian or maybe even pro-Hamas supporters have converged in downtown Manhattan, and you can hear the chants, and they are self-explanatory. Let me share this with you. And I don't want to, just conflate one thing with another thing, but this, just gives you a larger sense of the mood in America on the first day of 2025. I guess they were chanting for, again, what we keep hearing in many places, a global intifada. And many people concerned that as we kick off 2025 with this horrific attack. Now, did I bring that up? No, I did not. Let me see if I've got the right footage here. There we go. No, that's not it. I'm sorry. Down here. There it is. This is the big protest in Manhattan where they're calling for this global intifada. We're hearing that repeatedly from these pro-Palestine, pro-Hamas demonstrations in the streets across not just the United States, but certainly in Canada, and especially since the October 7th attack on Israel. And not only have we been hearing those kinds of chants out of New York, we've also been hearing them from Montreal. And we heard those chants even overnight. Last night, Dragon on the streets of Montreal, bringing us live coverage of the New Year's Eve celebrations there. He's back on scene tonight, and he stuck with, we signed off last night around 10 p.m., and the protest was very peaceful. But we did hear those same kinds of chants for a revolution, not a New Year's resolution, a New Year of revolution. That's what the chant was, coming from the pro-Palestine, pro-Hamas supporters in Montreal overnight. And Dragon stuck with that protest, came away with some additional footage that we're going to share with you here this evening as well. He's back on the scene. Here he is.
Hello,
Welcome
guys.
back to the program. Thank you for hanging in there and bringing us the latest information. Dragon, tell us what you saw last night after we signed off, late into the evening, as the New Year's Eve celebrations and protest continued.
Well, yesterday after the program, we had a protest, or a rally, should I say, all across the downtown Montreal. And as the footage that I uncovered for you, I've stood all the way down in front. And yeah, it was a long night till 1 o'clock, basically. So around 1 o'clock, 1:10, people were now dispersing, and here it was in Place des Arts where thing was unfolding at the end. So
I see. So you stuck around, you continued to shoot footage. They went on a sort of a bit of a march, did they, through the streets?
Yep.
And
it
you
was
were
a
there
march
for the whole thing, and you're up front and had a front row seat, and were able to bring us this footage, which I'm going to share with people now. And again, thank you for making sure you were there to cover this and get us the latest information and accurate recording of the event from yesterday. And again, I would suggest you pay close attention to what it is these folks are actually saying. This is on the streets of Montreal late last night as the new year came in.
That Allah protects you all, grants us victory and freedom, and makes you a means of lifting the injustice away from us. And may this new year be the beginning of goodness and blessings for our entire nation, and may it be our year of total liberation, inshallah. Takbir! 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 Solidarité avec la Palestine! Solidarité avec la Palestine!
So, Dragon,
Hey, guys.
can you give us a translation?
Why are
That I
you
believe
fleeing
that is.
Why are you fleeing the?
Well,
the
basically,
crowd there?
she was.
The crowd.
Why I'm seeing the crowd?
No, you're fleeing the crowd.
She's
I'm
calling
going
for
away.
revolution,
Yeah.
basically, and saying
Yeah,
that
I'm taking
the
it to the
people
bathroom.
were,
All right.
forgetting
Oh, it's just,
about the real
yeah,
history and stuff like that.
kind of,
So
We should listen to this gentleman
curious about
speak
the fact
in your
that,
interview.
I mean, sometimes they speak about Zionists, right?
Yes.
And I see you as a Jew, so I'm kind of curious how
how it goes together, Palestinians with
Yeah.
Jews. The truth is we were together before the Zionists came.
Yep.
Jews lived together with Palestinians, very peaceful. And the Zionists came in, they made a so.
Okay, so can you? I'm sorry, Dragon. The
All good.
those Jews that you were speaking to, by the way, they're pacifists. You understand that, right?
Yeah, they are. And what they are basically doing, they were at some point walking with them.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
it's kind of weird, There's two sides of the story, as we can see.
Yeah. So what were they chanting, Dragon?
They were chanting basically to the revolution, as people doesn't know what the history is. They should probably make us wake up in a way. So that was basically what they were saying, in other words.
I'm sorry, I don't understand. What were they chanting?
Well, basically, they are chanting for revolution. This year will be new. It will be just a new year for making people understand what is the revolution of the Palestinian movement.
I see. Okay. And tell us what happened with the march through the streets.
Well, the march was, it was a loud march. Basically, the chanting was borderline calling for revolution at some point, or hatred, I would say. So it's kind of sad that it happened. And I've seen a few bars and other owners of businesses around that was not so pleased to see them around. So they were pretty kind of angry at the situation.
Yeah. Okay. And how long did the protest last there last night?
The march was, it was about for an hour march, something like that. And around, I would say, 11:30, we were standing at Place des Arts, where it was the destination. And you had like the big speech going there till the moment of the countdown for the new year. So.
Okay. So what's the scene there like tonight? Everything's quiet on the Montreal front?
Yeah. Actually, I'm standing right where the ending was. Actually, this is where the ending was, right there. So as you can see, there's a pole right there, and the pole that there was the one used at the end of the video, or around the end of the video, where you see a guy, I've used this picture as a thumbnail on my video, as the guy on top of the pillar with a flag. So.
Okay. All right. I gotta kind of cut it a little bit short because we've got Joseph coming up here as well, Dragon. And
All right.
I appreciate everything you're doing. So I'm trying to condense stuff here just a little bit, click a lot of buttons. So I'm a little bit distracted as well. But I know that he's kind of getting things teed up, and I have to be ready for him as well. Is there anything else you'd like to add, sir, or think that we might be missing at this point with your report out of Montreal tonight?
Well, I would like to tell people I hope you have a good year again. Extend my good wishes to Joseph, please. And as you can see, I'm standing next to the Place des Arts skate ranking. So please make yourself a little favor. Have some times with your family and friends and go skate. It's going to be a wise thing.
Well, while you're there, why don't you take us, just point the camera over there and show us something that's going to cheer people up a little bit tonight, and show us the families that they're skating on the outdoor rink, and tell us about that rink on this first day of 2025.
Well, this is part of the Lumino Montreal Festival. So basically, it's all about light and light and all what you got in the between and the festivities of Montreal. You got some bar around here and cafes where you can go rest, have a good hot chocolate. And as you can see, the people are skating and having fun.
Okay.
So.
All right. Well, we better, I appreciate your coverage down there again tonight, sir. And we'll leave it at that. I have to get things set up here for Joseph. He's coming in here momentarily. And our coverage of what happened in New Orleans will continue with him on the other side. Thank you very much, Dragon. Great service, great coverage down there as always, from Montreal.
Love you guys.
Okay, take
care.
Bye. And with that, I am a little distracted here. I need a moment. I just have a lot of buttons to push as we prepare for Joseph's report. And I've got more coming out of New Orleans, so don't go away.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals. Defenders of individual rights and freedoms. Credible. Trusted. Grounded in reality. Maverick News. Maverick News. Defending free speech. Free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay, and Joseph Lenard joins us, author of Terror Strikes. He's on the phone. And I absolutely had to have you join us here tonight, Joseph, because we need your expertise. I know you've done, extensive research into the area of terrorism, and you are the author of Terror Strikes. For people who are maybe not familiar, you've been a regular contributor here on the program, and we need you tonight. What is your first take on what happened in New Orleans?
Well, before I get to that, I want to express concern because, yes, in my Terror Strikes Coming Soon to a City Near You book, I have a YYZ chapter, obviously after the Rush tune about the Toronto airport, instrumental about the Toronto 17/18 terror attacks that were forwarded, and also remember the Millennia Bomber, 99-2000 out in Vancouver. So you guys aren't immune, and I'm worried being on the Detroit-Windsor border. At Niagara, both sides of the border, better take note. Detroit-Windsor, Vancouver, BC, and Washington, better take note because this is the whatever special anniversary of our 4th of July independence celebration coming, and of course your Canada Day, July 1st. So July 1st through the 4th, both of us on both sides of the border are celebrating both of those days all week generally, and I'm concerned something could happen on both sides of one of our borders during that time.
So the border has been, a major issue for Trump. That's where this threat of a 25% across the board tariff comes from. He's saying Canada needs to secure its border. And I guess your comments there relate to some of that.
No. I don't mean to conflate those two things. I think, because as someone said in the chat, I hope it doesn't come to Canadian streets, which is why I mentioned the Toronto thing and the Millennium Bomber, and there are other things I could have packed into the book too. The Taliban, ISIS, Al-Qaeda, et al. Remember, you were there in Afghanistan with us. This is not just a USA thing. So my concern is, regardless of the security at the border, you don't need to cross the border to necessarily plot attacks simultaneously on both sides of the border. So I'm not trying to conflate, immigration issues with the terrorism thing.
Okay, yeah. All right, so let's leave all this border stuff apart. Let's focus on what happened in New Orleans, because that's where, the concern is immediately tonight. I'd really like your take on what happened down there. I know that some people are already questioning how something like this could have happened. What else might have been done to prevent this? Have you been looking at anything in that vein?
Oh, absolutely. I sent out a Terror Strikes Insider update earlier today on it, and the subject line was, in fact, I forwarded it to you. The subject line was like, why did this happen? Or I can't remember how I worded it, but, and you showed the presser. I think it was, I forget who it was, the governor, I think, right, was talking. We know about our security lapses, without using that word, and we've been working on them since October. Hello? You had all of November, all of December to prepare and take care of these things. This, to me, is like the Katrina failure. New Orleans has always been corrupt. And Katrina, they got money for decades to shore up those levees, to firm them up, because a lot of people died, not because of Katrina, but because the levees weren't reinforced like they were being paid to do, and the corruption, the money got diverted time after time after time. People died because then the levees failed and that water flowed in. had nothing really to do with the hurricane itself, other than that was the straw that broke the camel's back there. But they should have been reinforced, and a whole lot of people would still be alive, a whole lot less property damage.
Well,
and I see this, in my opinion, is the same negligence and incompetence. You had 2.5 months. You weren't ready, and that one dumbass that you didn't show in the pressure saying, fire strengthens steel, it forges steel, and we've been tested in the fire, and we were ready. No, you weren't. If you were ready, this wouldn't have happened. Somebody's got to go to jail for negligence.
The bollocks that are usually in place. The ballards, the ballards to prevent these kinds of attacks. They were under repair and had been for some time.
They were in the process of being replaced. But again, you had 2.5 months to prioritize the more important things versus the minor things. And some ballards were removed, plastic, before stainless steel ones were ready to be put in place or added to other places. That should have been prioritized, because we saw that in the Halloween attack where he drove on the running track. So we know time after time after time these truck-type attacks, they're going up on sidewalks to get around any potential street barrier. You've got to have ballards on the sidewalk to make sure they can't get through there, and they weren't prepared. This isn't something new or novel. Anyone who's paid any attention to terror strikes knows these things happen and happen regularly. I mean, you see any film, right? In any action film where there's a chase, and a car inevitably is always driving up on the sidewalk, and you see people scattering. You know this can and will happen, but yet you did nothing to prevent it. Or worse, you undid protections that could have helped, although it is important to note this was a Ford EV truck. And it's only important to note because an EV truck is generally heavier and heftier in some regards than a standard gas vehicle, because you've got the battery frames and all the weight of the battery, and they get up to speed 0 to 60 a lot quicker. So you can do a lot more damage with an EV truck because you got that extra weight once you get it moving.
Speaking of EV trucks, there's also this strange event outside the Trump Hotel in Vegas. Here's footage, I'll run it here, of this Tesla pickup truck, Cybertruck explode. Well, yeah, it kind of did explode outside the hotel. Here it is on fire, and then you can hear the explosion there as well. I guess the truck was loaded with fireworks, and there was one person killed in this. What are your thoughts on this tonight, Joseph?
Yeah, well, the focus has been on New Orleans, so there's little out about this. A couple key important things. One, for those who have never been to Vegas, you can rent virtually anything. I rented a Prowler vehicle one time when I was out there. You can get Ferraris, Porsches, Lamborghinis, whatever you want. I mean, you can go out literally just a half a mile off the strip and rent a submachine gun to then shoot a half mile off the strip that you would never get away with doing anywhere else. You can practically rent anything. So the truck was rented, so that's an important distinction. And the person killed was the person who is suspected to be attempting a terror attack outside the Trump Hotel in Vegas, which the only person killed was him. They evacuated the hotel, but I think this person didn't understand EV vehicles. He indeed had fireworks inside, and that's what the explosions were, and he killed himself. I think he thought that if he caught the vehicle on fire, the vehicle itself would explode. But that's not how lithium-ion batteries generally work. They expand, they leak, they burn hotter than the sun practically, and they burn a long, long time, but they generally don't explode. So I think that was a miscalculation. Thank God it was a dumb terrorist, because had he packed that truck full of, ant ammo, agricultural type ammo that a lot of homemade truck bombs are made out of, he could have taken out the front of that hotel.
Yeah. And again, we don't really have a lot of details on what the situation is with that Tesla truck outside of the Trump Hotel in Vegas. We do know there were fireworks in it.
Let me be clear. Yeah, let me be clear. Like Rudy Giuliani often says, it's not like I want to be careful. I engaged in speculation there out of the information that I have. It's like Giuliani says, it's not like I'm trying to misinform or put out propaganda. I'm trying to put what I know out there and what makes sense based on what I know today. But tomorrow, details may change, and that speculation may change. It's not like I'm trying to put forth anything, I think you know what I mean. I think the audience knows what I mean.
And I do have a bit of an update available here from social media through Fox News. Let's listen to this.
What I also would like you to pay attention to on that video, as you see that, it looks like the exterior of that truck is completely intact as it sits there. The fact that this was a cyber truck really limited the damage that occurred inside of the valet, because it had most of the blast go up through the truck and out.
I can't hear.
On that video, you'll see that the front glass doors at the Trump Hotel were not even broken by that blast, which they were parked directly in front of. You can see that in the video there.
And so you can see there the first responders covering the remains of the truck, the wreckage, the charred remains, up with a tarp, and yeah, Joseph, that's just that report.
That. And, I think that lends credibility to what I was just saying. The correct verbiage is, see now, there looks like a propane tank or whatever. So it looks like he may have tried to have the truck blow up, but it didn't. Because again, now an EV vehicle generally won't explode. They'll burn hot as the sun and burn a long time, but they generally don't explode. So I think the correct terminology here is there were explosions in a Tesla Cybertruck, not that a Tesla Cybertruck exploded.
Right, and it's pretty clear, I think, even from the sound of the explosion that we just played, that it was the fireworks exploding, not the truck itself. Here's another clip, again, courtesy Fox News. This is Las Vegas police providing an update on the Trump Hotel Cybertruck fire.
Yes, actually, I have to thank Elon Musk specifically. He gave us quite a bit of additional information in regards to how the vehicle was locked after it exploded due to the force of the nature of the force from the explosion. as well as being able to capture all of the video from the Tesla charging stations across the country, and they were sent. He sent that directly to us, so I appreciate his help on that. I'll take one more question.
Okay, so that was just police thanking Elon Musk for providing more information about the truck, and I know that Musk has also posted on social media saying he has a whole team of people from Tesla working to look into that vehicle and the fire.
Yeah, I have criticized Elon plenty of times on your show. So, somebody will probably now want to accuse me of being an Elon cultist as well as a Trump cultist. But, in this case, Elon's in the right, and there's no issue here with that truck in this case. There are issues with Tesla vehicle fires. That's not this. And I'm laughing, Johnny, in the chat. Vegas won't let you tell the truth. They don't want to lose guests. They don't pay me. They've got no sway in what I say. It's like, God, it's just so hilariously, stupidly laughable.
Yeah, well, let's get back to facts. And so just back to New Orleans. What, we flying an ISIS flag, U.S. veteran, served his country, born in Texas. It's a little hard to kind of connect dots at this point. What would you suggest? How do you look at this? Do we need to just wait a little bit longer, or do you have any initial thoughts on what the motivations might be behind this?
I do have some initial thoughts, but again, given what we know, and again, it's fluid, we're dealing with the fog of war here, more information will be available tomorrow. I personally think that he probably has a manifesto, and they've got it already, and they've not said anything about it, because there are 3 men and 1 woman still at large they're looking at getting at as maybe involved, maybe not, they need to clear, but until some of this fog clears up, we're not going to know. But I can put together, in my mind, in my opinion, what's working here is because he did serve in Afghanistan, and I'm a former IT guy, and he was in IT. He may have been tasked with dealing with Al-Qaeda ISIS traffic, and it wouldn't be the first time that someone like that got so wrapped up in the info they were seeing that they then became they later succumbed to the propaganda and traffic they were seeing and dealing in and dealing with and self-radicalized online. And there's also reports, and again, this is speculation, I don't know, that supposedly he's going through a divorce, it's a rough one, he's losing his house and whatnot, so he's in a bad state and frame of mind and potentially more open and susceptible to someone putting in idiotic, suggestive thoughts. Especially since he already served in Afghanistan, he may have dealt with some of the Taliban and or Al-Qaeda directly, and it just took till now that he snapped, but the conclusions might have already been under there to some degree because of people he knew or whatnot. So this makes sense to me if I'm reading it right, based on what I know.
Mm-hmm. And it isn't just the truck attack that is of concern, it's also these explosive devices. Just a short time ago, one of those improvised explosive devices was detonated by the authorities in New Orleans, not very far, apparently, from where the truck attack took place, and you can see, you know, it's still a major response from police there, and the device was detonated as this video was shot. The explosion, the bang from that could be heard down in that area. So that's go ahead.
Go ahead. Sorry.
That's why the authorities have set up that tip line. The FBI, they're just hoping that people come forward with more information as they try to track down the others that they are convinced were also part of this attack.
Right, the 3 men at large and the 1 woman still at large that are persons of interest, at least at this point, although they released his image because he's already dead. But this is like a composite attack, if you know what I mean. I think you do. It's kind of a cross between the New York Halloween, the Waukesha, Wisconsin Christmas, the German Christmas attack, as well as the Boston Marathon bombing attack, because they had, I'm saying they, because I do believe there are more involved, they had IEDs. And just like the Boston Marathon bombing, they wanted multiple additional explosions to go off later in the chaos. But it didn't unfold the way they wanted it to. And these 3 men and this woman, whatever, may have decided when it started unfolding that maybe I really don't want to be part of this and I want to get the heck out of Dodge. And, or it could have been worse. And they're on the lam now. They're still going to be held liable and responsible to whatever degree they can, could, and should be in whatever regard to this plot. But it sounds, like I said, like a combination. Part Waukesha, Wisconsin, part Boston Marathon bombing. These people are evil. They're not stupid. They learn, they adapt, they find the cracks. But unlike that idiot woman in the presser, we were prepared, but they defeated our measures. No, you weren't prepared. The sidewalk was unprotected. Clearly open for anyone and everyone to see with a vehicle. They could have driven up there.
So here's a post from Marjorie Taylor Greene. I'll just show it to you.
Oh boy.
And she says, New Orleans terrorist attacker is said to have come across the border in Eagle Pass 2 days ago. Shut the border down. Who did our government bomb lately that is taking it out on innocent Americans?
Well, yeah, she I call MTG AOC with an R by her name. She's great if you love throwing red meat to your base. But I think ultimately she's a moron. You got to look at her voting record. That's what matters. And she's way out on a limb here. There's no need to go here. And yes, the truck is known on camera, all kinds of places. The license plate readers have it all around the border there in Eagle Pass. But so far, no one is saying with 100,000% certainty it actually crossed from Mexico or from the U.S. into Mexico and back at any point.
If I may, I think that what she's trying to suggest is that this is some sort of when she posted that, I get the impression she's trying to say this is some sort of an illegal immigrant that came across the border, shut the border down, but in fact, he's a U.S.-born citizen from Texas.
Yeah, from Houston. And again, although there are leaks and words, again, that this truck has the hallmarks of being used based on, now that they know the truck, they know the guy, they are able to put together the phone metadata and all that, the GPS locations, and it's been up and down and all around the border, not over the border, which would suggest it may have been used in illegal trafficking with a cartel number dropping somebody off, and that being a mule vehicle to relocate some of them. Now, again, this is information that's been put out there. I certainly have zero real sourcing of confirmation on any of that, and for MTG to go out there on this limb, dumb, stupid, stop it. Let's deal in reality and facts.
Yeah, well, we certainly need to do that. And that's why sometimes it's just better to wait for a little while to get factual information rather than kind of jump on a bandwagon or speculate and as you say, go out on a limb, as Marjorie Taylor Greene clearly did right there. And I'm not so sure that she's conveying factual info.
Right, as I say on your show all the time, in a war, and this is a war, and there's a fog of war, and every side in the war deals in propaganda. And there are different people with their own varying agendas, like an MTG, willing to throw stupid stuff out there for their agenda, which is other than just dealing in truth and let's get to the facts.
Yeah. Let's go back to this news conference that they held here for a moment. Just bring you a little bit more from the New Orleans first responder news conference. I've got to bring this back here. Let me grab it for you. Where did we go? Here
I
we
hope
go.
you got the clip of that dumb woman. I think she might be the chief of police. If she is, she needs to be fired. Oh, we weren't prepared. They just slipped through our fingers. No, you weren't prepared. The governor admitted you've known for 2.5 months. You weren't ready. You didn't get the job done. People need to not just be fired, but put on trial for negligence. They are partly responsible for these lives being lost, in my opinion.
Wow, you're coming down hard on them there, Joseph. Let's listen in. Hang on a sec here.
Well, yeah, corruption.
Here we go.
And CYA doesn't sit well with me.
Thank you, Governor and Madam Mayor. For those who do not know me, my name is Ann Kirkpatrick. I'm the Chief of Police of New Orleans. My official title is Superintendent, but my role is as Chief of Police. You know, you've heard some of the details today, and over the last 24 hours,
Hang on,
we've
she's
had
speaking.
approximately 400 officers in the French Quarter. And as we know, this is not just an act of terrorism. This is evil. And when we face evil, we have a choice. We can run in fear, or we can indeed stand in strength. In a time of crisis, people are looking for leadership. You are looking at the leadership. And I promise you, as the Chief of Police of this city has been tried by fire before. But fire purifies. Fire makes things stronger. We have a plan. We know what to do. We are going to get these people. There is a path forward. Very pleased that we will be back to having a wonderful game tomorrow night. New Orleans police have proven their ability to make the city safer. Just 2 years ago, we were the murder capital of America. Today, from that time 2 years ago, we have driven our murder rate more than 50% down. So we have a track record. But this is different because it's terrorism. Now, I want to thank all of our law enforcement partners. You're fabulous, and we appreciate the partnership. But last night, 3 of our officers engaged this terrorist who shot at them. 3 of the officers returned fire. Those officers did not run in fear. I liked what the mayor said this morning. New Orleans police and all law enforcement is built. We are built for dealing with evil, with things that would cause others to be in fear, but instead our officers, and last night NOPD particular, stood strong. They did not run. They did kill the terrorist. We have 2 officers indeed who received gunfire. They will be okay. We have personally gone to see them. But this is leadership for you. And I promise, as the chief of police of this fantastic city, that I will be strong and firm and fearless. Thank you.
Thank you. In wrapping it up, I want to just close with a couple of things. I want to thank Senator Kennedy and Congressman Carter. I want to thank again all of our law enforcement officers out there. I want the families of the victims to know that I will be issuing an executive order that tomorrow, when Notre Dame plays Georgia, every flag of every state building in this state is going to be at half-mast. In remembrance of them, but remembering something else, that fear in this state is a liar. And these folks right here are going to make sure that justice is served. And for the citizens out there that were saying, well, man, do I really want to go to the Sugar Bowl tomorrow? I tell you one thing, your governor's going to be there. That is proof, believe you me, that that facility in this city is safer today than it was yesterday. And as we come to additional events in this city, I know in speaking with Senator Kennedy and Congressman Carter and FBI, acting director, and the incoming administration, that they are going to ensure that this city has the resources necessary to protect our citizens and our guests. And so with that, we'll take some questions.
All right, if you could, we'll start over here with CBS. Katie, we'll work our way across the room. If I miss you, just give me a holler. I'm
going to stick with this for a bit here, folks.
CBS News. I mean, I think this has been a really tough day for a lot of people, but at this point, we're hearing that the death toll, according to some FBI sources, has gone up to 15. Is this true?
Who wants to answer that? Yeah.
I can speak to it, because unless you have a final number. We do not have a final number. We know that we have confirmed 10, but we did have people who had been transported who were in critical condition. And so I do not know that, but I can confirm 10.
And one quick follow-up question, if I may. We know that there have been some local records in Texas about a misdemeanor background on this suspect.
And we have confirmed it's up to 15.
Time about this person or their plans for what happened this morning?
Because that is the investigation part, I will give the FBI.
With the world in chaos, what's really needed is some bad behavior, which is actually what Australian biologist Jeremy Griffin.
At this time, we cannot go into about the subject's history. What I can tell you, the person was an Army veteran. We believe he was honorary discharged, but we're working through this process, figuring out all this information. The goal with the FBI is providing you with the most accurate and complete information. So once that information is confirmed, we'll make sure we push that out. Thank you.
Ariel.
At this time, do you know exactly, as far as the victims, how many are from here in Louisiana versus out of state and their ages maybe?
At this time, I can't go into details about all the victims. We want to make sure that first that the family is notified appropriately before we put any information out there. So once the families are all notified, then we'll go ahead and release a statement to everyone.
And I would ask the press, in relation to the victims and those that are in hospitals, if we could just refrain from worrying about them so their loved ones can take care of them, and the medical personnel that are trying to get them out of the hospital can do so. And as information becomes available, but we want to respect the privacy of those who are still either fighting for their lives or being cared for. Thank you.
A follow-up, if I may.
Go ahead.
You guys mentioned accomplices. You don't think that the suspect acted alone. About how many more suspects are you guys looking into at this point?
It's a range of suspects. Right now with the FBI, we do not run a rule anything else. So that's why we're asking if anyone has had any interaction with the deceased subject Jabbar in the last 72 hours. Provide us with this information. You can provide us that information through 1-800-CALL-FBI or our digital tips line, which is available on our social media website, as well as the big FBI website.
Can I say something right quick? Tell me who you're with.
WDSU.
WDSU. Okay, and CBS.
NBC's over here on the right.
Oh, that's an unusual position.
I don't get it.
You wouldn't. Look, the FBI is not going to be able to answer those questions, okay? They will eventually, I promise you, okay? Once the FBI has a chance to investigate all this, along working with state police, working with Homeland Security, working with the city of New Orleans, they're going to tell you what happened. I can promise you that, or I'm going to raise fresh hell. But right now, they're in the process of trying to catch the other bad guys. And I want to give them the benefit of the doubt for a while.
26.
Yeah, I had a question about the victims. I know that there was obviously gunfire exchange, so I guess how many victims were shot and then how many were injured?
Look, again, let me reiterate both Special Agent Duncan and Senator Kennedy. There's a lot of, I get that y'all want to know minute details. What we don't want to do is impede this investigation or spend any time talking about things that don't get us closer to hunting these folks down and securing the city. And so at a particular point in time, we will release as much information as we can. But at this time, in relation to the investigation, I would ask y'all to refrain from those.
So, ladies and gentlemen, if we're going to just have more of the same as the governor just said, we're going to provide that information, but we're going to wrap the press conference now.
Hold on a second.
Hold on. Let me finish. You weren't listening. If all of the questions are more of the same, what the governor just said in position, we won't be doing that to provide that information. And if you have a quick different question, then let's do that quickly and move on. Okay.
My question.
Ma'am.
Hold on. Then who was next? We had over here.
Hi, Rachel Wolf from the Wall Street Journal. You said you were confident there are multiple suspects involved. What makes you confident in that?
Well, like, why would we tell you that? Again, again, we want to answer pertinent questions. But anything that would lead to impeding or endangering this investigation is not going to be said, okay? And we will, as information unfolds, this is a very fluid process. And remember something, too. We're doing two things. We're hunting some bad people down, and we're securing the city, too. We're getting ready for a Sugar Bowl tomorrow. So if y'all would, again, if you have questions regarding the Sugar Bowl, the safety of the city, or something to that effect, we're happy to answer.
It's over here.
Okay, go ahead.
Go ahead, Alyssa.
Usually in parts of the French Quarter, specifically in parts of Bourbon Street, there are bollards. We're hearing that some of those may have been down because of repairs. Can you speak to that? And maybe was there any backup option of putting a truck there or an NOPD car there?
Well, let me tell you, yeah, one, I'm going to let the mayor answer. I want you to know that's one of the first things I thought of this morning when the mayor called me, okay? And I will tell you that whatever the problem was is going to be solved.
Thank you.
I'm going to London at April.
Do you mean I am going?
Okay, so I need to take a little break. We've got this, people are messaging me telling me that there's this possible, and I'm going to say possible, hostage situation in Las Vegas right now. Possible breaking news story. I have to stress this is unconfirmed. I don't know if it's even true, but a bunch of people messaging me about this, and some very, very preliminary reports, but coming from, so far, media sources, independent media sources that I would not say are entirely credible all the time. So I'm not going to report this as factual at this time, but I am going to check on this because so many people have been messaging me over the past few minutes. So stay with me. I'm going to just take a short break, and when I come back, our coverage of what happened in New Orleans will continue, and I will try to find out if these reports of a possible hostage situation in Las Vegas are actually true. I'm not sure that that is really the case. So stick with me. I'll be right back.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Police department and chief, you can speak to the deployment to respond to our needs and existing conditions.
All right, so we have been aware of the Baller situation for a long time, and we did indeed harden those target areas where the ballers are. We had patrol cars out there as a hard target, as well as with barriers. Now, I want to share with y'all, if you did not know, that this particular terrorist drove around onto the sidewalk and got around the hard target, where he did have a car there, we had barriers there, we had officers there, and they still got around. Now, the wedges that you see out there as well, we knew that that had malfunction problems. And I want you to understand, let's say we put the wedge up and it got stuck. There is no way that ambulance could get in or out, people couldn't get in and out, so we knew that these were malfunction. So we did indeed have a plan, but the terrorist defeated it.
Let me just say this. We recognize we got a problem right here, right? We're going to fix it. It is going to be a top priority as we go into the Super Bowl and Mardi Gras. And the solution that we're going to come up with is going to be a permanent one. It's going to be placed into the standard operating procedure of having major events and securing that quarter.
A follow-up, if I may, obviously, Super Bowl postponed until tomorrow, but I'm sure after that game, a lot of people are going to want to celebrate. Are there plans to keep Bourbon Street closed? What does that look like?
So right now, Bourbon Street is an active crime scene, and the FBI is in charge of it. When they clear it, and it does not become an active crime scene anymore, we're going to open it up. Potentially.
With Fox 8. Can we ask about this military police presence that you want to call it? Is this a private security like Blackwater? Also, would that be a first that a private security firm is mobilized to supplement local and state law enforcement?
No. We're not. This is our National Guard. Yep. These are our citizens that we bring it in. It's a military police company. That we recognize we need some more resources. We need some more boots on the ground. Because again, what we're doing now is twofold. we've got an active investigation, and we've got enhanced security. Before this event, we were just enhancing and working on security. So we brought some additional resources.
Jesse Kirsch with NBC News. Thank you for holding this press briefing. I just want to clarify something first. You were just talking about bollards that are being repaired, talking about a lift gate that are replaced and then a lift gate that's not been working. Was there a vehicle in place of that lift gate last night? Were there things in place of those bollards which are being repaired?
Sure, the chief spoke to the plan in place, and that is yes.
That was indeed.
So anything that is currently in the midst of being repaired had a backup replacement?
It had vehicles and officers were there where all of those ballasts have been. We had that. We knew. So we did have it. And like I said, in this particular case, terrorists just went all the way around up onto the sidewalk.
And what about the lift gate? Was there a vehicle like backing in and out to block that lift gate area, or was that just down and open? Because that's what we've heard from witnesses.
Chief, Captain. The reason I'm calling the captain, he's the captain over that district, and that is a question I'm going to let him address for you.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Captain LaJean Roberts of the 8th District. Yes, we did have a vehicle strategically placed right in front of the wedge, preventing access onto the roadway.
And in terms of the framework of security that was already in place on Bourbon Street, I know this is an ongoing project of improvement, but with how that was all aligned, was someone getting up on a sidewalk considered impossible or nearly impossible, or was this not something you expected you would have to account for?
If, of course, it wasn't something we expected to account for. The bollards they're actually wedges. They're strategically placed 5 locations throughout the French Quarter on the roadway. This particular terrorist drove onto the sidewalk behind the police car to gain access to the 100 block of Bourbon Street.
So if you're worried about someone ever driving down Bourbon Street, why weren't you worried about someone driving up the sidewalk in the same way, or at least bracing for you the same way?
Okay.
Yes.
All right, look.
I would go to Greenland.
So, Joseph, we're hearing from these officials that they had a plan. They had some of these ballards were under repair, but they still had vehicles strategically placed to prevent access. But the terrorists went around them, up onto the sidewalk, and into the area where the pedestrians were. So, with all that being said, you're still of the opinion that somebody needs to go. We're just freezing up. You're still of the opinion somebody needs to go to jail?
Yeah, well, somebody said in the chat about that chief of police lady. Sounds like she's trying to cover her hindsight, and that's exactly my opinion in this. When this is all said and done, and we've got the actual criminal perpetrators, the Louisiana governor, the DEA, or the AG, and whatever Louisiana internal investigation units need to look at the situation from a government standpoint, and New Orleans potential continued corruption. It's like Shakespeare. Methinks she doth protest too much. What did she know? When did she know it? How much involvement did she have in the lack of security? That it wasn't that they were smarter than you. It's just that you're stupid. Resign, be fired, or potentially it needs to be investigated. Someone may need to go to jail for criminal negligence.
Okay, and with regard to this situation with a possible hostage situation in Las Vegas, I can tell you that we do now know that according to the latest information that we have, there are indications that there is a situation involving a person barricaded on a bus near Fremont and Charleston Boulevard in Las Vegas. The Las Vegas police have confirmed their presence with SWAT teams and crisis negotiators at the scene. Fremont Street is reported to be closed from Charleston to Oakey Boulevard due to this incident. However, official details regarding the confirmed hostage situation are not yet available. and the situation is still ongoing. It is fluid. Further updates are going to be necessary for us to fully understand the scope of this incident. I do have some footage here from the scene. This is what it looks like there tonight. So whatever it is, it has a large police presence there. Somebody barricaded in a bus, and you can see what appears to be the bus there to the left. But is it an actual hostage situation? Not confirmed, but that is what is, that's the information that's sort of out there, just unconfirmed. But moments ago, the whole thing was unconfirmed. Now we know that police are there with their SWAT unit and Joseph. This is troubling, and it complicates things, adds more layers to this story. So we have the situation in New Orleans with the truck attack, some of the suspected accomplices in that still at large, possibly tonight. Somebody, it looks like, was arrested outside the home of the driver of that truck, who was killed at the scene of the terrorist incident in New Orleans. Then a cyber truck catching fire, loaded with fireworks. One person killed as those fireworks exploded inside that truck outside the Trump Hotel. Now down around the Fremont Street area in Vegas, we see that there's a huge police presence and a possible hostage situation with negotiators, crisis negotiators, on site, which has been confirmed, and that would indicate to us that indeed this probably is some sort of a hostage taking. That's why you bring in crisis negotiators, unless there's some other element to this that we're not aware of at this point. So we're trying to confirm this additional information and get you the latest information. This is one heck of a way to start the new year. What say you?
Yeah, you could say that again. Well, there was a lot to unpack tonight, and it is not surprising, actually. There's usually a lot of snowball effects. You know, people who are on the edge and about to fall over, an incident can then trigger them to then trigger an incident, which, you know, like the Pantene commercial. Tell two people, they tell two people. Pretty soon you got a movement. Well, if you got some unstable people, something happens somewhere else, and that pushes them over the edge, and you've got multiple incidents. So now there's also reports on Newsmax, AI Pack building was an assault, a gunned assault attempt was thwarted there. I don't know anything more about that, but as to this Vegas thing, this could just be somebody mentally unstable, mental health issues, and it just may be coincidental, or it could be someone who was connected to the Cybertruck guy. We just don't know yet.
Yeah, well, we'll have to, again, just wait and share information as it becomes available from Las Vegas. And I think that, you know, there's obviously going to be a lot more information that comes out of this terrorist incident in New Orleans over the next 24 hours. That is absolutely certain.
Yeah. Well, and again, I think one event kind of triggers another, and somebody who's on the edge and unstable, it could just be coincidental, but with all going on, they all tend to get the conspiracy, want to tie it all together kind of thing, and they may or may not indeed be related, but we are heightened now. So obviously there's going to be a major, massive reaction to any minor thing at this point now, because we're all on edge. And I've been warning ever since the Germany thing. Something's boiling, something's coming, but you can only, I'll defend that chief of police to some degree. You can only prepare so much. But again, the governor admitted for 2.5 months You supposedly knew about these security problems and were supposed to be addressing them, but you weren't ready. You didn't get it done.
Well, I don't know. I'm always one to kind of wait for as much information as is necessary to draw correct conclusions. It's easy to sit and sort of be an armchair quarterback, you know. And when you're dealing with terrorists and terrorism, it's very difficult to know what somebody might do to get around the defenses and protections that you put in place. So, you know, I am sympathetic to the authorities as they try to keep people safe. At the same time, it absolutely needs to be reviewed, and if there is negligence, then that needs to be addressed. No question about it. I just hate to.
If it were somewhere else, I'd be a little more giving of grace. But again, the Super Bowl's coming, the Sugar Bowl, New Year's Eve. There's the Mardi Gras there. They know. I mean, how many movies do you see where the car jumps up on the sidewalk? They knew this was a possibility, and they were supposed to be taking measures to prevent that.
Yeah,
so
and
they knew,
and with
but
these
they failed.
with these major events, you know, coming, you would think that with a couple, at least 2-3 months to prepare, they would have taken steps to get these repairs finished in time for these major events.
Well, if we didn't have the past record, again, going back to Katrina, the failure to secure the levees and people died, you learned nothing? That, okay, we got security holes, you know, we'll get to them when we get to them. If it takes 6 months, no. You get it done now, or you're culpable, in my opinion, because of the past. If you didn't learn from it, you're guilty.
Now this is
have
what
a problem here. You're culpable.
This is what Trump posted earlier today. He said, "When I said that the criminals coming in are far worse than the criminals we have in our country, that statement was constantly refuted by Democrats and the fake news media. But it turned out to be true. The crime rate in our country is at a level that nobody has ever seen before. Our hearts are with all the innocent victims and their loved ones, including the brave officers of the New Orleans Police Department. The Trump administration will fully support the city of New Orleans as they investigate and recover from this act of pure evil." So from that, you would take away that Trump was suggesting there that the attack came from someone who came into the country, some immigrant again, but in this case, it's actually a U.S. citizen. Has Trump spoken too quickly here?
Yeah, I think he spoke out too soon. He's going the MTG road. Now, in general, I don't have a problem with that statement, but it's like Kathy Jokel the other day. Oh, the subway's secure and somebody's burned to death on it. She literally releases a statement about how much more she secured the subway after somebody was just burned to death on it. So he reacted too fast. I don't disagree with that, but yeah, that conflates two completely different things. This is a U.S. citizen. He reacted too fast, or didn't have enough proper information. So what he said is correct on one point, but yes, it does seem to conflate it that somehow illegal and but again, now the truck supposedly has shown a pattern that it may have been involved in illegal trafficking of citizens handed off by the cartel. We don't know these details yet, so the connection still may be here, but maybe Trump knows something we don't. But in this case, I think he just reacted too quickly. That connection might still be there, but yeah, this is a U.S. born citizen, radicalized after being in Afghanistan. I feel, again, within the IT, he was dealing in the Al-Qaeda traffic, and I think he just succumbed to the propaganda. And again, maybe he indeed got hooked up with the cartel when he came back, and indeed was involved in illegal sex slave trafficking or whatnot. We do not know all that yet.
Well, regardless of the motivations, regardless of whatever justifications this person may have had in their mind, the people who were killed were innocent civilians, just innocent people out at a New Year's Eve celebration. And they didn't deserve any of this. The families of these victims, who are themselves victims because of this, don't deserve any of this. The people of New Orleans don't really deserve this. So, you know, even with Marjorie Taylor Greene, with her post, I take exception to some elements of what she said there, because it's actually statements like that coming from politicians like her that fuel some of the radicalization among some people like that, because it gives them an excuse, justification in their minds to lash out in a violent way like this. So I don't think that Marjorie Taylor Greene is actually helping the situation here at all.
Oh, I agree with you 100%. She is not. That's why I call her AOC with an R by her name. And she needs to shut up and stop some of this. I can't criticize. You know me. I'm not here wearing my red MAGA hat. I'm here dealing in reality. I criticize the left for their language and inciting violence towards the right. This is a case MPD could be inciting some back, like the person in Vegas who clearly he rented a Cybertruck, an Elon Cybertruck, and attacked the Trump Hotel. We all know the clear indication and implication of that, and an MPG can indeed help fuel it. I'm not going to give her a pass on that. You're wrong. It's wrong when the left does it. It's wrong when the right does it. I'm not going to wear a partisan hat in all this. And again, a lot of the facts might still shake out a little differently. But I agree with you. She went way too far here. But again, she's like AOC. She loves running off her mouth and throwing out red meat before knowing anything, or at least couching it. And I'm speculating here. This may be the case, and if it is this or that, but no, she's making 100% like she's certain of everything, and this is a factual statement when it is clearly not. Speculation has its place, but you've got to make clear, like I do with you, when I'm speculating or I'm presenting fact.
All right, let's take a little break here. Stick with me, Joseph. I really appreciate your input on this. We're just going to run a little transition here. I'm going to check on a couple of things, and we'll be right back.
Maverick News. The world is watching. Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay, we're back, and Joseph is still with us. And Joseph, I was just checking on some things. We don't have any new information yet on that possible hostage situation in Las Vegas, where police are on the scene with someone barricaded in a bus. But I did take note of this, and I'll get you to comment on this. Let me bring this up. This is just a social media post, but it's worth commenting on, because what Donald Trump posted earlier, I think prematurely, frankly, after what we've seen in terms of information coming out of New Orleans. Here's the social media post from somebody by the name of Aaron Parnas, probably not a big Trump fan, but he says, Donald Trump is actively using what happens in New Orleans to promote a fake anti-immigration agenda. And then he shares Trump's post about, dangerous people coming into the country and crime rates being, extremely high.
Well,
What are your thoughts?
More than one thing can be true at the same time. So that guy is just full of it. Now, the MTG thing is a perfect example, in my opinion, of other people with their own agendas, and I think her feeling the need to spew red meat so she can collect a bunch more in campaign contributions. So dismissing her. Now, Trump, unfortunately, he has his ear, in my opinion, way too often, and his message might have been triggered by her idiocy. And, sometimes if he doesn't have enough adults around him, he listens to that child MTG, we have problems. But more than one thing can be true at the same time. What he said is true. Whether it applies to this is probably not. But again, the truck being up and down and around the border and potential human trafficking involved with that truck, we don't know all those details yet. So let's just, for sake of argument, say none of that part is true. What he said is still true, separate and apart from this.
And of course, we have more than 30 other people injured in that New Orleans truck attack as well. 15 confirmed dead now, and over 30 people injured seriously as a result of all of that. And then residents who are living near a home in the Saint Roche neighborhood, in the neighborhood where police were searching homes, are reacting with shock and confusion to the attack there in that part of New Orleans. It's obviously sending shockwaves through the entire community there, and it's going to leave long-lasting, probably permanent scars on the entire community. This is a huge loss and tragedy.
Yeah. Well, there's a big difference between constructive input, which I like to think is our back and forth, right? Speculations and what ifs, as long as we know we're dealing in that. MTG has her own agenda. She just wants to spew red meat to get campaign funds. But a legitimate question in my mind is, how or why did this guy drive from Houston to New Orleans to do this? And that lends credence. That's why, in my mind, this is helpful conjecture and speculation, because why would he travel that far, like 1,500 miles, I think somebody said, unless if he had co-conspirators there to work with and help him do this there. Or again, why would you go from Houston to New Orleans for that? It doesn't make sense unless if it's a broader conspiracy. That, in my mind, is legitimate conjecture and questioning that we're having here versus other distractions that, get us off the rails. And like that leftist then responded to Trump, like I said with Trump and Trudeau, right? Don't give them the damn distraction and deflection. Don't do it. Don't give them the ammunition. Stay on point. Stay on focus. He gave the MTG gives the left an out here. You and I want to focus on the reality of this and cut out that side stuff. But yeah, why did he go from Houston to New Orleans? That's legitimate questioning.
And this is new information just coming out. Law enforcement officials have searched an Airbnb rental in New Orleans. They think it may possibly be connected to the manufacture of improvised explosive devices that were tied to this attack in New Orleans. This information coming from Louisiana Attorney General Liz Murrill. And as a result of all of today's activities, of course, we're seeing that the Sugar Bowl has been delayed for 24 hours. And this is, I would say, a pretty significant development, because they're obviously pulling out all the stops to track down these other people who may have been involved in this truck attack, this electric vehicle Ford truck attack in New Orleans, and to gather all the information and evidence that they can to assist in their investigation.
Yeah, and this makes sense to me. There's a fragment of information. As you can imagine, my phone has been lighting up all day. And a tidbit of information I had got that I didn't know what to do with. So you just said that now. Makes sense. There was an issue besides the bolo about the 3 men and the woman, there was a tidbit of information about a warrant being sought to go into an Airbnb. Now, that tidbit alone made no sense to what you just said now. And I'm lending credence to what you just said, because I had that stray fact that didn't make sense and have any connection to what you just said.
Yeah, I mean, regardless of whether this person was an immigrant or a U.S. citizen, it's what's in somebody's head and what is in their heart that ultimately matters, and whether they've been radicalized in some way. And we saw during President Biden's address to the nation on this tonight, he said that the suspect in the New Orleans attack did post videos to social media, which we do not have access to here tonight. I think they've been scrubbed from the internet. But he says that these social media posts from the suspect, the driver of that truck, indicated that he was inspired by ISIS and expressed a desire to kill. And he did have the ISIS flag on his vehicle. And that much is just on full public display. And we showed you that flag on the ground being photographed earlier in the broadcast. Joseph, over to you.
And And because of all that you just outlined, I don't know. It's just my internal gut feeling and hunch that they probably already have a manifesto from this guy. And if they don't, they will find one. I don't think you do this without that, especially with the ISIS flag. So I think that's probably something they have, and it's being held close to the vest right now as the investigation goes on. And I don't have any immediate inside sources telling me that. That's just my gut feel about this situation, because we've seen so many manifestos from people in things like this of late. And if he was recently radicalized in plotting to go that far from Houston to New Orleans and being involved in the conspiracy, there just seems to me that somebody somewhere has to have recorded why we are going to do this kind of thing.
Oh, man. So again, yeah, still no new information yet out of this situation in Vegas with this possible hostage situation. So, I don't know. I mean, it's just a very strange day. First with the New Orleans attack, and now, the Cybertruck fire, and now this possible hostage taking.
Yeah, my first reaction to the Cybertruck thing was, indeed, because I said before, like, somebody does something, and that kind of triggers somebody else to maybe do something they weren't planning or weren't going to do immediately, but said, hey, that happened, let me piggyback off that, right?
Yes.
And that's the gut feel I get from the Cybertruck thing, but there is no connection between the two in that this person was radicalized with the ISIS flag, attacking out against America and Americans in general for whatever his motivation was. The Cybertruck thing, again, I think it's just said, hey, look what happened in New Orleans. I've been thinking about doing this. I've got the stuff. I'm going to do it now. I think it's just coincidental that it happened this day, because he said, hey, look what happened there. Pressure's off here. I'm going to do this now. And he didn't understand an electric vehicle isn't going to blow up. And I just saw on Fox News they showed a much better camera angle of that. And indeed, it was an explosion in an EV Cybertruck. It was not the Cybertruck exploding.
Yes, that is very true. That is exactly what the situation was. Again, let me just...
The hostage thing, the hostage thing, it could be connected to the Cybertruck thing, which I don't think, again, is connected in any way, shape, or form to the Nova thing. Or it could just be somebody mentally unstable, and it coincidentally happens at the same time, or on a hypersensitive state of alertness right now, so we're making more of it than it would be. This could have been a Jordan Neely thing, right? And it just happened on the same day as NOLA and the Trump hotel thing in Vegas, so we're giving it an extra level that it may not be deserved. You know what I mean? We don't know anything about it enough yet to say there's a connection or it's a coincidence. It could be either. I'm speculating either way. I'm just laying it out. It could be this or that. We don't know.
Yeah. Let me take a little break here. I need both hands here to type a little bit to get you the latest information and just get some other stuff set up here. So just a moment, Joseph. Stick with me. Folks, we'll be right back.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching. Maverick News. The world is watching. Maverick News. Fighting for freedom.
Okay, so we're back and Joseph is still with us, and I'm just still trying to get you the most up-to-date information on this possible hostage situation in Las Vegas. And, yeah, go ahead.
I think Trump needs to clean up his statement. He needs to make another statement, and frankly, I think he should throw MTG under the bus here. Normally, I would say even a rhino is better than any commie, fascist, sociocrat. But in 2022 and 2024, I was actually kind of hoping the Democrat would unseat her, because she is not helpful in a lot of cases.
You know, I have to say that when I see someone who is in a position of incredible power and responsibility, in a position of public trust like Trump, and when I see a post like that comes in premature, where he's making assumptions and making a public statement like that, it concerns me, because I say that is reckless. When you're even the incoming president of the United States, certainly if you are the president of the United States, you have to be extremely careful about everything you say, because every syllable has an impact around the world in profound ways. You need to be dealing absolutely in facts all the time. You need to be, it's your responsibility to keep the public informed, but also to keep people in a state, where they're calm, not panicked, and deal with things in a rational, practical way that helps guide people to safety, not fuel or inflame situations. And I frankly, I'm disappointed to see the kind of post that came from Trump today. It came too soon. It was inflammatory. It wasn't really factual. It was speculative. And that was coming from someone who, honestly, at this point, it has full access and is briefed on national security matters every day now because he's the incoming president-elect. He should know everything that's going on. And if he needs information, it's at his fingertips. Just, a quick phone call, asking people who are, dialed right in. He can get any information that he wants as quickly as it's available. And he jumped the gun on this, and that concerns me.
Yeah.
That's not responsible.
He still has time to clean it up, and that's what he needs to do. He needs to make another statement saying, look, what I said was accurate and separate and apart from what happened in NOLA. Two things can be correct at the same time.
He
has time to clean it up.
He jumped to
clean it up.
He jumped to a conclusion, made a statement based on incomplete information that, went viral because everything he posts goes viral. As a journalist, I've covered so many fires, floods, tornadoes, you name it, man. Massive car pileups, on and on and on. Okay? And pandemics, right? Health emergencies. And when you have a state of emergency declared, for instance, or any major event, any mayor I've ever dealt with, well, pretty much any mayor, the vast majority of them, a premier, a governor, any politicians who are in positions of leadership and responsibility, police chiefs, fire chiefs, first responders of all kinds, they are always extremely careful about what they say to the public. With regard to any kind of an investigation where a criminal act has been committed, certainly any kind of a killing or murder or terrorist incident, it concerns me. This is reckless, this kind of rhetoric. I've seen the same thing from RFK Jr. over the past year during the campaign, where he has posted incorrect information. He's regurgitated propaganda talking points from foreign governments, frankly. And these guys have made, incorrect assumptions. It's sometimes I kind of agree with that guy who posted that thing. He was doing that to score some political points, in my view. And he did that prematurely. And now, as a result, honestly, he has egg on his face. And it doesn't serve the public well. I agree with you. He should come out with some sort of clarification on what he posted and backtrack a little bit, dial it back just a bit, because what he posted there, not really fully accurate, and it is inflammatory. It just doesn't look right.
Yeah, and I see stuff from the left all the time. Anytime there's a gun instance, right, it's always, gun control, more gun control. Yeah. He got the gun legally. More gun control anyway. He stole a gun. More gun control anyway. The facts don't matter to them. So I agree with you, and this is part of Trump's character flaw. He's gotten much better, but he still has that inner 6-year-old hubris. I cannot admit a mistake. Well, don't admit a mistake. You're just clean it up. Issue a clarification. It can be done, but it will get worse the longer you wait to do that.
Yeah, and I mean, this is not like, such a huge faux pas that it's going to haunt him for his entire presidency, but it was wrong. He needs to be far more careful. Look, I mean, the guy is just so careless with his language, and it's not a great way to start your presidency with something like this tonight, with these careless words, the rhetoric that he has been directing at Canada, that has been, confrontational, insulting, no need for it, picking fights with allies. No, I'm not into this.
Yeah, I'm a Trump cultist, so of course I got to defend Trump on that, which I don't.
Yeah. It just, I don't know. It's not looking good. This doesn't feel right to me. The whole thing with him right now, there's something wrong. There's something seriously wrong. This is not like the Trump of 2016. This is different, and it's not good so far. I don't think we're off to a good start, and he's not even started yet. Okay? This is not good at all, in my view, my opinion.
I agree with you. I have said over and over, character matters, right? Martin Luther King Jr. Content of one character. Bill Clinton's lack of moral character mattered. And Trump's, although he's gotten better, until we see something like this, where he does overreact again too soon and making the statement. But admit you're wrong, or in this case, he doesn't have to admit wrong. He can just clean it up a little, clear it up a little. But yeah, don't overreact like you do. Character matters, and that's his character flaw. It is his character flaw. It's no question.
Yeah, it's not a good character. It's not the kind of thing you want in a president. Somebody with their finger on the red button, right? That's going to launch all the nukes, possibly. It's not good. Somebody in a position like that, the most powerful military in the world at his disposal. No, you want somebody with a very level head who's very measured in everything they say.
I would prefer that. You don't get the choice between Jesus Christ perfect and Satan. You got the gray in between, and I'll take Trump any day over a Biden or the communist. Him with all his flaws, I would happily take somebody else better. Who that might be, I don't know. Again, short of Jesus Christ, we're all human, we're all frail, we're all imperfect, we all have our faults. But I expect him to get better. I think he's gotten a lot better, and then something like this happens.
Yeah, so, it's not that I'm asking anybody to be perfect, and certainly not him, but it's really a procedural thing. Even as a journalist, a reporter, there are just certain things you just hold back on. You don't report on certain things until you know they're factual. You don't just run around like, whether it's a story and attribution, right? You need to confirm things, get your information right, attribute information to credible sources. You just don't go out saying just stuff and making assumptions, certainly not when you're in a position of power and public trust.
Yeah.
If I was ever in a position like that, I would be extremely careful about anything I say. Whether, like I say, if you're a mayor, if you're a police chief, a fire chief, if you're a senator, anybody in a position of public trust, certainly a prime minister, a premier, a president of the United States or Russia or any country, you keep the public interest in mind, not politics, when it comes to an incident like this. And I'd say he fell short tonight. Again.
Yeah, I've said over and over, you and I engage in speculations and what ifs at times, but we're clear and upfront in those cases. The distinction between this is definitive fact and this is speculation. He can't claim to be taken out of context when somebody shows his full post. So again, I agree. Clean it up. I misspoke. This has nothing to do with that. What I said is still true. More than one thing can be true at the same time. But you've got to be willing to admit you screwed up. Not publicly admit you screwed up, but to yourself in your mirror and say, oh, I got to clean this up now.
Yeah, and again, here's the footage from this location in Vegas on Fremont. And the latest information we have here is that there has been a hostage scare in Las Vegas. This incident involves a person barricaded on a bus near Fremont and Charleston Boulevard, where LVMPD SWAT and crisis negotiators remain on the scene at this hour. Fremont Street has been closed from Charleston and Oakey Boulevard, and the public is advised to avoid the area. This situation was reported just a short time ago, and it appears to be connected possibly, at least we're trying to confirm this, to an earlier explosion involving that Tesla Cybertruck outside the Trump Hotel. The truck apparently had fireworks loaded inside. One person killed in that incident. It's not confirmed if the two incidents are directly linked, but there is an investigation ongoing to determine if there might be some connection. Police response has been significant, with a large presence noted and seen here in this footage. And it was confirmed that this was not a terrorist attack, but rather an incident involving an individual with a knife on a bus.
Yeah.
So that's what they're doing.
Now we're into speculation territory, and we are both laying out. It could be related. It could be coincidental. But the police presence here now is not the time to underreact. Mm-hmm. They may be overreacting, but you know, if someone's actually held hostage, they certainly want the overreaction as if it could be related to the other thing. Again, speculation. It may not. Regardless, it's an incident that has to be handled. Connected or not, doesn't matter. The police presence is obviously warranted, and we'll just have to wait and see on that.
Yeah, so again, here's the latest information on that. As of like just minutes ago, this is the most up-to-date info that there is available anywhere. A person reported to be barricaded on a bus near Fremont and Charleston Boulevard at this hour, leading to a heavy police presence, including LVMPD SWAT and crisis negotiators. Fremont Street has been closed from Charleston to Oakey Boulevard due to the incident, public being advised to avoid the area. This situation described as not being a terrorist attack, but rather an individual with a knife. This is the newest information now again, causing a disturbance on a bus. And this event happening shortly after that explosion involving that Tesla Cybertruck outside the Trump Hotel in Las Vegas. Whether there's a connection at this point, we don't know. It is under investigation, so we don't know if there's a connection, but it has been confirmed the authorities are investigating to see if there might be a connection. The Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department has been managing the standoff, suggesting the situation remains active at this hour, and this is the most up-to-date information available right now.
Yeah, and the other thing about this with the Fremont thing is that lends credibility to that it's just coincidental is, it could be 100 miles away and still be connected, but that it is coincidental is the cyber truck at the Trump Hotel is actually on the Strip.
Yes.
What's happening with Fremont here is away from the downtown Strip on Fremont. This is out a ways off into the almost suburb, like just from what we're seeing from the video.
Yeah, it's actually the older part of Vegas, Fremont. Yeah. And
yeah, normally when you say Fremont, people think downtown, Fremont Street and the Fremont Experience, off the Strip. But this is clearly off the beaten path, up Fremont, away from the Strip and downtown entirely. Now, what that says about it, I don't know. I just wanted to point out the fact.
yeah, and it's on a bus, so I don't know if it's a city bus, a municipal bus. I believe that it is. It appears to be some sort of municipal transit system bus based on the image that I'm seeing online. It looks like a city bus. And yeah, somebody with a knife.
Yeah, again, with it being away from the downtown or the Strip area, yeah, it wouldn't be a casinos operated shuttle type thing. This clearly would be a standard Vegas municipal, like they don't call it BART, or whatever their version of it is, mass transit.
Yeah, and I don't think even any mainstream media has picked up on this story at all yet. So this is all extremely fresh. You're getting it as it unfolds here right now at this hour.
Yeah. I think there's too much still completely unknown about it. That's why only you and I are talking about it. Everybody else is still focusing on NOLA and then occasionally showing the cyber truck having had explosives blow it up rather than it blowing up.
Yeah.
So there's just too much unknown about it, whether it's coincidence or connected. So I think they're just, we don't need to cover that. We'll cover that tomorrow.
And, back to New Orleans, I'm seeing right now various reports where they're, various media outlets talking to security experts, national security experts, terrorism experts, some of them saying, speculating, I think, that the driver of that truck may have been self-radicalized based on the information available so far.
No question. Yeah, that's what I think too. Again, his tie to IT and probably the ISIS, Al-Qaeda traffic chatter he'd be in on scene, and if these difficulties that are being reported about his life are true, and what about the border incident, if he's somehow got caught up in illegal activity regarding human trafficking, any number of things could be going on here in his mind to have pushed him over an edge like that.
So, yeah, no new information still out of this. I'm thinking that this is going to be resolved fairly quickly. Everything I'm seeing, though, indicates that this is contained. Police have this situation somewhat, cordoned off, contained. So I don't think there's any real danger to the public at large there at this point, because it's a person with a knife. But it is, wow, what a crazy 24 hours it has been, and what a terrible way to begin 2025. Are you still? Didn't you indicate you're optimistic about the coming year? Wasn't that you, or was it John out of Alberta yesterday? I can't remember who
Yeah,
was.
no, not me. Well, it depends. Again, more than one thing can be true at once as far as our economic abilities. Like news out of Argentina today, President Milei, right? People were all up on him because of the government cuts and cutbacks and cutting spending and whatever. And he was up front, and Trump needs to be up front too. There could be some short-term pain going through this, but Argentina went from negative GDP growth after 6 months of his reforms. They now have 4+ GDP growth, and they're heading into a, like the U.S. roaring 20s period. So there may be some pain at first, but yeah, no, economically, I think we're going to be in great shape if he stops. And again, you carrot and stick. You gotta threaten the terrorists to maybe get a better deal. I get it, but he's going too far. And as far as CBC and the chat mentions, he thinks he's learned, and I think he's learned a lot too. And again, we're all perfect. We're all human. No one's perfect. He's gonna make some mistakes still. I just hope they're not big ones, or very many of them.
Well, I think Alex Jones says we're not all humans. Didn't
over the Kamal
doesn't Alex Jones say that, you know, we're living among lizard people who are getting ready to eat our brains? And
yeah, well, you know, oh no, so we're back to New Jersey drones. They're actually lizard people, right? Yeah.
Well, that PSYOP continues. Talked about that last night. Also, there's this ongoing story about the fog, which has kind of dropped off the radar a little bit today. And there was about 27 states reporting fog. But as I indicated yesterday, that's not unprecedented. We have had major fog events like this in the United States before, and I don't think it's the government trying to murder everyone or kill it. It's not. That's not what it is. It's fog, and in some cases, it's smog. It is smog.
HAARP weather control program, right. or cloud seeding, or not, well, cloud seeding. I mean, that's real. We've done that for 150 years to try to make some rain. But yeah, this isn't chemtrail stuff, and please.
And there was a smog alert issued from Montreal yesterday, and folks, you can relax. It's hard. This is crazy, but this is the truth. A lot of the main source of smog in Montreal this time of year, it comes from wood-burning stoves, because so many people still actually heat their homes with wood. It's still fairly popular. My parents have a wood stove in their home, and there have been new regulations that have been brought in many jurisdictions to ban certain types of wood stoves, so that you have to use more energy efficient, airtight type stoves that burn the wood more efficiently and produce less effluent, burn it cleaner. But it is the smoke from the wood burning stoves and fireplaces that is generating some of this smog, to the point where, because of the weather conditions, the dampness in the air, low-hanging, smog, it's just a smog alert in Montreal. And that's what you're seeing in other areas too.
As you said, this is not unprecedented. And, just 25 years ago, before the turn of the millennia, we really had no clue about how El Nino and La Nina effects really work. But yet, they want to claim, oh my God, it's man-made global warming stuff again. Now, to agree to what you said, on a minor scale, we may do something like that. Like, that's why we try the newer coal technology to burn coal cleaner and capture and sequester as much of the carbon as we can. But the carbon isn't the problem. The problem is indeed any actual smoke. Because if we're just letting out carbon and water, that's not a problem. It's the smoke and any potential irritants that might get up and, go back to the threat of acid rain garbage again, like in the 80s.
And did you see some of the spectacular fireworks displays for New Year's Eve last night and some of the drone shows? Like, check this one out. Like, my goodness, look at this flying dragon made up of all these synchronized drones in the air. And my goodness, when I look at this, the explanation for the New Jersey, New York, USA drone sightings, which some people believe are, crazy aliens or something. No, I think your explanation is right there. We have new technology, drone technology, lots of different kinds of flying objects in the air, 5th generation fighter jets. I saw video today of a 5th generation fighter from a distance, sort of at dusk, and if you can sort of make out that the silhouette of the jet itself sort of hovering over water, but people posting going, look at this UFO. No, it's a 5th generation fighter. They can hover. And you look at this, if someone wants to psych you out, if there's somebody who wants to screw with your mind, with the drone technology out there, they can fly these things around at night. They have blinking lights. They can do all kinds of crazy things. They can make 3 or 4 drones look like one big drone. They can do all kinds of things. Now, I'm not saying that these large drones, and there isn't maybe something more to the story that way, but I'm convinced, and there is all kinds of evidence to back up what I'm saying, that there's also a psyop aspect to the whole drone frenzy and social media mania that's been going on out there. What say you, sir?
Yeah, well, I'll give you an anecdotal story about that. It's like the whole UFO, UAP thing. Over years, even Project Blue Book in the past, whatever. Some of it's misidentified stuff, no question. But even Project Blue Book concluded with 1% of the hundreds of thousands of things investigated were still unexplained. Well, 1% of that still is kind of worrisome. But I think a lot of the drones indeed are just misidentified, or once the frenzy started, everyone on the planet who owned a drone put their drone up there going to look for the supposed unidentified flying objects. So you had more of them flying than ever before. That's why the FAA shut down the airspace and said, no, you can't fly a drone at all. So that the hobbyist stuff wasn't up there being misidentified. But anecdotally, a couple weeks ago, I looked out my front door. I just happened to be looking out, and I heard a loud noise, right? I thought it could be a drone because I have reports of people telling me there are unidentified drones flying around Michigan, too. Well, I thought I might have seen one a couple weeks ago, but luckily I had the time to stand there. And it looked like it was in Mobile, because I live east of Detroit Airport. So I'm very familiar and used to the patterns of planes in, out, over. That's usually very easy to understand, even though they're small. Sometimes you can't, oh, look, there's a United marker on the tail there. So I can't see that. So technically it's an unidentified flying object, but I know it's a plane coming into or leaving Metro Airport. But this was coming up from the south in a pattern that wouldn't fit going into the airport. And it looked like it was hovering, and it sounded like a loud drone. But lo and behold, 10 minutes later, I find it flies close enough that it's a twin prop plane of some sort. I can now see it, and it's pitching right out over the Detroit River. So it must have been something going into the unusual Grosseal Airport, which is a small island downriver. That airport is not used very often, and either that or they were taking a weird pattern into somewhere into Windsor, but it looked like it was hovering, and indeed the props made it sound like, oh my God, it's one of these unidentified flying drones. But no, it was a plane. If I would have walked away, I would have misidentified it, and I don't doubt a lot of cases are that, misidentifications, but that there might be a minute percentage that are unexplained still does concern me.
So,
and again, they could have easily did a cover story.
And Dragon was on earlier out of Montreal. We showed you a little bit of footage of the pro-Palestine, pro-Hamas protest in Montreal last night and into the early morning hours. And there was also protesting taking place in Toronto, of course. Not unexpected. They shut down Union Station. Here's what that looked like. I'll share this with you now.
Resistance is justified when people are occupied. Resistance is justified when people are occupied. No peace on stolen land. No peace on stolen land. 2025. Freedom will arrive. Palestine will thrive. 2025. Let's free.
So
Resistance is justified.
there they are, shutting down Union Station in Toronto with this protest. And it's interesting, and they're chanting there, Joseph. They use the, they use the word freedom. So many people throw the word freedom around in so many different ways. I wonder what it means to people anymore.
No, they want the freedom of slavery because they had freedom. They elected their own government in Gaza, and the government they elected in Gaza immediately shut down any future elections. So they voted in their own tyranny and want to complain when those they voted in and who hide among them with weapons, and they know they do. Jihadistinians, I call them. Yeah, when they start a war, then you're going to complain that the people you put in and you protect are the ones that started the war? You don't deserve freedom because you had it and you gave it away.
Well, I hope and I pray that we are able to hold on to our freedom and our democracy here, because it is under assault. I really believe Canada is in play. We are at war right now. It's a hybrid war. It's a fifth generation kind of war. It's a hybrid war with information warfare, kinetic warfare. It's happening all around the world. It has already kicked off, and our freedom, our way of life, it's being threatened right now, in my view.
Yeah,
Freedom.
I wish Dragon were still on because I'd love to ask him if he talked to these people. Because, they literally go pro live.
They generally don't speak to him or to anyone that they are absolutely, not sure is, unless you're absolutely aligned with them and you support them, they won't talk to you. That's really the way that it is. Now, he did speak to
Because it's easy to... It's easy to trap them in their own stupid. Because again, they want to say, what, these are all fake videos. What? So Israel somehow came up with 1,000 different multiple hour-long fake videos of rapes, murders, and hostage-taking, and aired them as if they were live. Well, because they were broadcasting it live, but then they say, you know, that's all fake propaganda. Well, are there hostages or aren't there? Oh, yeah, well, there are hostages, so that video's real, but those other ones aren't real. Do you see Palestinian morons ever actually listen to yourself?
Yeah, it's amazing that now Dragon did start to interview a Hasidic Jew at the scene of that protest in Montreal. What a lot of people don't understand, though, is that the Hasidic Jews are pacifists generally. Some of them actually have come out in support of the Palestine cause. They are anti-Zionist Jewish people, and their positions are very controversial within the Jewish communities and in Israel itself. And they refuse to enlist for military service because they see military service and any violence as being sinful, essentially, and they've devoted their lives to studying the Torah. So it's an aspect of that society that people here in the West, if you're not Jewish, you maybe don't even understand what that is about. But often these Hasidic Jews and their position and their views on Zionism, Palestine, the creation of Israel, it's not really fully understood. And I think that their position is actually exploited to some degree by the pro-Palestinians, the pro-Hamas crowd, because they say, well, look at this Jew. Even they don't support Israel. And that's very complicated because these people don't fight. They are pacifists. They just want to, it's their view that if they just capitulate, if they don't fight, that everything then will be fine. And they've been given exemption, even within Israel, by the Israeli government, to not have to partake in or contribute to military service because of their religious views. And they've made an exception, saying that because their views are so orthodox, so traditional, they have real value within the Israeli society. And so their service to the country, to Israel, is to actually study the Torah. But it's controversial there because a lot of people view their inactivity and their lack of military service as being that they're benefiting from the freedom, essentially, that they have within society, within the country, without actually participating fully and contributing or giving back through service or even support for the society, the country itself. It's sort of like, hey, I have freedom, but I don't actually have to fight. I'll let somebody else fight for me and enjoy all these freedoms. And while I'm enjoying those freedoms, I'm going to criticize everybody else who does participate in the defense of the country. So I understand both sides. They're pacifists. They don't believe in fighting. That's their position. It's a religious thing for them. And they just believe that if they don't fight, if they just aren't violent in any way, that somehow everything will just work out.
No, it's Neville Chamberlainism is what it is, and they should read their Torah a little harder, because even it says there's a time for war, turning your plowshare into a sword to defend yourself. Mm-hmm. Exodus 22:2, you have the right to defend yourself. So that's what my ChristiTutionalist Politics show is about all the time. The whole Bible in full context, and they're leaving out parts. Right. But I can go to Israel and show you all kinds of Christians and Muslims that live in Israel very peacefully, even some of them serve in some way, shape, or form to the government because they know Israel is where the peace is.
Yeah, so I mean, you can subscribe to their, you can make your own judgment and research it yourself and come to those, to whatever conclusions you want. But I would say that a lot of, I've seen many instances where they will post a comment from someone who's a Hasidic pacifist Jew and then portray them as saying, look, here's a Jewish person, even they don't support Israel, but they don't really explain the context. And you really need the full context to understand why they've taken that position and what it really means to the overall story. And then you can, draw whatever conclusion you want based on that. But don't just take what I'm saying for it either. Go do more research, but make sure your view is balanced if you want to get as close to the truth as you possibly can.
Yeah, I say it all the time. Like, context matters.
Yeah. Just checking in again here. The clock is ticking, so we can't stay here all night, but I do want to give you the most up-to-date information on this situation in Las Vegas with this person on a bus with a knife and a possible hostage situation. So what I can tell you is that the standoff there involving this person barricaded on a bus near Fremont and Charleston Boulevard is still an active situation. It's ongoing. LVMPD has not provided updates on the resolution or a possible resolution or any changes to this situation. Traffic and access in the area around the incident remains restricted, with Fremont Street closed from Charleston to Oakey Boulevard. No new information has been provided regarding a possible, or maybe regarding the investigation into, I should say, a possible connection between this event and the earlier Cybertruck fire and explosion involving fireworks inside the vehicle near the Trump Hotel. So it's just an ongoing situation. That being said, I think it is safe to say that police have the area contained. There doesn't appear to be any risk to the larger population around there, the citizens. So it is just a matter of time before this whole thing comes to some sort of resolution.
Yeah, if it's somebody who's unstable, just coincidentally there with a knife and they lost their you-know-what, just coincidentally on this day at this time at that place, it can go on for God knows how many hours, because, how do you reason with somebody who has lost their mental capacities?
Mm-hmm. So, well, I think if you're on a bus with a knife, there's probably something not quite right in your head.
Yeah. Pretty safe assumption. Yeah.
Yes. And Joseph, that brings us all the way to 10 p.m. Eastern. And with that, and because I'm sure that police have the situation in hand to the degree in Las Vegas where there probably is no larger threat to the public, they're saying it's not a terrorist incident. So I think with that, we can probably kind of draw things to a conclusion here for tonight's broadcast. I'll throw it over to you, sir, for some final wrap-up thoughts.
Yeah, we can wrap it up for tonight, but we're leaving with a whole lot of open-ended questions still regarding all of them. The Cybertruck at Trump in Vegas, this hostage thing off the beaten path along Fremont there. We got a whole lot of open questions, but I think the important thing is that you and I at least try to engage in what can be reasonably deduced from indeed what the facts we have, ask more pertinent questions, and hopefully we can get the answers to those pertinent questions by tomorrow or the next few days. And I hope they found a manifesto. I hope we hear something about that soon. I just really feel that this is the kind of guy that would have wanted to put it down on paper.
So if you want to support the program, support the channel, you can do so by donating at freedomreporters.com. I'm not going to lie, we really need some help. I know that it's a lean time of year, Christmas for everybody. And that, of course, means it's a lean month in terms of donations, too. So I'll just throw that out there. If you're in a position to help us out, you can donate at freedomreporters.com. I'd really appreciate any help we can get at this beginning of a month, end of a month, as the bills come due here to keep this channel up and running. You can also support us by liking, sharing, subscribing. Please hit the thumbs up on YouTube. I hope we've earned that, at least from you tonight. It doesn't cost you a penny, doesn't cost you a dime, just costs you just a very brief moment of your time, and we'd appreciate that. Please consider subscribing. Just subscribe to our channel on YouTube and or Rumble. We're also on a number of other social media platforms. We're gaining some real traction over on the Parler social media platform that has been resurrected, and on their video channel, the service that they have associated with that as well, called Play TV. So we're getting thousands of views over there as well. That's really taken off in a short period of time for us.
I gotta check that out. I thank you for letting me know Parler's back up again. I've been on it for a few weeks ever since you told me, so I'm posting there again at J. Lenard Detroit, Owen Leonard, J. Lenard Detroit on almost all social media platforms and most of the video channels too. So, but I gotta check out that video aspect for me to share my shows and sound bites from my shows in video form, and I gotta check that out. Do you know the tutorial you can send my way?
Well, it's pretty simple. You just go on there, register, and post. That's all I've been doing. Not doing anything special. But because the platform is going again, and they're kind of in a reboot mode, you're kind of getting in at the early stage. So they've been, it's been getting some real traction. Our videos over there.
You said host. You're doing live though there, or
no,
mine's all
it's not. You
stuff,
can't go live on there. It's just reposting the broadcast. So it's the recording, and then we repost it after this program is over. As soon as this is done, it gets reposted over to these other platforms, or they don't have the feature of going live yet, but a lot of people picking up our program over there, and that's very encouraging. So I'm glad to see that. I'm glad to see them back up too.
Glad you mentioned that. I have to check that out because I'm always looking for additional. Like you on Daily Motion in France?
I have an account there, but I gave up on them. They terrible in terms of. I just haven't. I've been on there for years with my automotive stuff, and then now with this, and just no traction, nothing. It's terrible. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I don't like the platform anyway. I don't watch anything on it. I've given up on Daily Motion. I can't get anything to work there in like years and years of posting stuff.
I don't get much traction either, but I figure it only takes me a couple extra seconds while I'm posting it to all the other channels, so I put it there. Hope someday maybe it accidentally goes viral.
Yeah. Well, all you can do is keep on trying, and over time, he's throw enough spaghetti at the wall and something's got to stick, right? So,
Yep. All right, I love you, brother. Thanks for having me back. Appreciate it. And, I wish we were doing the midnight matinee movie rather than the serious stuff, but it is what it is, right?
Yeah, well, we'll be doing that again in short order. We're just days away from our next broadcast, so maybe we'll get you back on there and co-hosting the next movie. And you guys can all chime in and weigh in on what the next movie should be, too, as we get closer to the end of the week on Friday. Maverick Midnight Matinee. Thank you, Joseph. I really appreciate you contributing again tonight. Great program, great insight, great information, great work.
Yeah, and hey, Dragon, if you're still out there listening, appreciate you too, brother. Even though we've exposed you weeks ago, you're really a Russian agent with that fake French accent, but
That's
we
right.
love you anyway.
All right. Thank you, sir. We'll sign off with Joseph, and I will see all you guys back here tomorrow. Remember that the only way to ensure that everyone has liberty is if you preserve liberty and fight for liberty, even for those that you disagree with. Only then will we find our way back to true freedom. And with that, love you guys. See you tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Eastern, right here on the Maverick News Channel on the flip side.
This has been a Maverick Multimedia production.